it felt like this beautiful little window into humanity that people actually do want to look at diverse faces. And of course, there are people that have, critique and that there was some blowback. But also, if you're not pushing and if there aren't people that are upset by it, you haven't gone far enough with your creative. I always say if everybody gives you a thumbs up, you probably haven't pushed yourself enough.
You're listening to the Revenue-Driven CMO, the podcast where we break down the most effective growth strategies from top marketing leaders. Join us every week as we dive into their stories, challenges, and insights that drive revenue. This show is brought to you by Level Agency, where AI-enabled performance marketing expertise blends the art and science of marketing to deliver measurable results.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Revenue-Driven CMO. I am your host, Chris Mechanic, here with a super exciting guest who's a business leader that really combines the art and science of marketing to drive exceptional results time and time again for global brands. And what's really funny, like a lot of us talk about, the mixture of art and science, but she really brings it to a next level, which is so important from a marketing perspective. Like you can't be one-sided brain anymore. It's all about the mixture of that art and science. It's really about the creative, people are saying is the ultimate growth hack. But then if you can't measure the creative and if you don't have the science piece down, then you're missing a big part of the puzzle. But just to give you a sense of our guest's experience and resume, currently a board member at Grindr. She was chief marketing officer at Hootsuite. She was at Deal Engine. She was CMO of Cision. She was at Ion. She was at Bank of America. So we're talking a broad range of experience at these really impressive, scaled and fast-growing companies. Currently, she is CMO at ABC Fitness, which is the #1 tech provider for fitness businesses everywhere, backed by over 4 decades of industry experience. They've built a suite of best-in-class platforms powered by a diverse global team. So super excited to get into it with her here today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Miss Maggie Lower. How are you?
Hi, Chris. I'm very good. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. I can't wait to dive right in. So this is literally one of the most impressive resumes I've ever seen. You've got to tell us what's your big secret?
Yeah, I think from a marketing perspective, so I spent the first 10 years of my career really in strategy roles, right? So strategy and learning how to translate things into a C-suite audience in the boardroom. And I think having that experience coupled with marketing has made a huge difference. But in the marketing world, I think the most important aspect of the work that I've done is that it doesn't have to be boring just because it's B2B. I think that you're still marketing to people and not just businesses. It's not just about targeting job titles, but about reaching humans. And so thinking about storytelling and emotions and engagement matters just as much. And, it's becoming more complex, but at the end of the day, that social contract that you strike with customers is what helps you win. And I think we used to talk at one of my roles, I was at Hootsuite for a while. We used to talk about, thumb stopping content, like what's going to make people stop scrolling, right? It's when they read something that feels different. It reads something that actually speaks to them. So again, ROI is important and features are important. And I don't want to take away from any of that. You have to have a wonderful product, but you also need to make your audience feel something, give them, a sense of FOMO and curiosity and excitement. And for me, staying curious is how you stay relevant. Marketing is changing all the time, right? By the time we get off of this podcast, marketing will have changed. Something will have changed. And so you're never going to know all of it. Get really comfortable bringing in really smart people and listen to them and trust them.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And the sad reality is that it's often not the best product that wins, but often the best marketers. And I guess that might be not sad reality for the amazing marketers listening. But can you think of an example at Hootsuite or at ABC Fitness or anywhere really where like a specific example of a real thumb stopper, like piece of creative that just really resonated and worked well?
Yeah, when we were relaunching the Hootsuite brand, we brought in so a lot of the work that I've tried to bring through in marketing is to better reflect humanity. So not have the same faces, not have people looking at the same imagery that they've been looking at in their entire consumer career, if you will. And so I think when we were at Hootsuite, one of the things I was really proud of is that the centerpiece of our launch was the former contestant on RuPaul Drag Race, Blair St. Clair, and it was just this beautiful imagery. I remember I don't always have time to go to the shooting. I don't always have time to be there when like, filming a video or putting together content, and I was able to go that day, and I remember being on this soundstage in Brooklyn, and the moment that Blair came out and we had everything backlit and ready to go, and the whole room got quiet and everybody leaned in, and even though this was a drag performer and a global campaign, it was our highest performing asset at that moment by far. And so, it felt like this beautiful little window into humanity that people actually do wanna look at diverse faces. And of course, there are people that have, critique and that there was some blowback, but also if you're not pushing and if there aren't people that are upset by it, you haven't gone far enough with your creative. I always say if everybody gives you a thumbs up, you probably haven't pushed yourself enough. So, that imagery was beautiful. We worked with this phenomenal photographer and created kind of a surrealist, but like a hyper realized treatment of everything that we were doing and showing social being integrated into your life, that it doesn't have to be this thing you stop and do, that it can be part of everything that you're doing. So I'm proud of that. I think, so many people don't feel seen. And, I think we're seeing that even more now. And so being able to be part of campaigns and creative and a brand identity that wants to create more visibility for people that don't feel visible at all times is important to me. And it's important to the work that I do with my teams. And it's important to the teams that do it with me. So that alignment feels really good. Very proud of that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it was just very striking imagery. Like that's what I would call a pattern interrupt, right? So like as you're scrolling, doom scrolling on your social media feed or whatever it is, um, you're seeing things that look similar or ordinary, and then boom, like you see this imagery of, a drag queen, like in this kind of surreal environment. It's like, whoa, like that's stopping the scroll for sure.
For sure. But what's going on here? I have to see. I have to figure it out.
That's awesome.
It was. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Tell us real quick, just like sort of the chronology of your career up to date, and then maybe if you could end with ABC Fitness and just give us a little intro to that too.
Yeah, let me try to give you the Reader's Digest version. I came out of school and really just had an opportunity to do an internship at Bank of America. It was actually the summer before my senior year, and being honest, I'd been waiting tables and I was sick of waiting tables, and had been a college athlete and got injured and moved abroad. And when I came home, I just wanted to do something else. And I had such a fantastic experience that summer, even though it was a history degree that didn't even know what large cap, small cap meant, that I ended up going back after school. And so I had a short stint at a small marketing agency. And then I left marketing. I was in the P&L world for 12 years. I was working in wealth management, trust and estate planning, institutional investing. And I actually, really what I did was follow, kind of like an actor follows directors. I followed bosses. If I could learn something and it would push me, and I was really focused on traveling and being able to kind of live around the world, then I would take that role. So it was less about this linear path, which at the time I had moments of feeling unsure if I was making the right decisions. In hindsight, it all makes sense, but at the time, I followed my instincts. And so from that point, I went into graduate school. And like by the end, I was really, think of it as like a COO. And what was really neat about the bank at that time is we were making these massive acquisitions every 2 or 3 years, like huge multi-billion-dollar acquisitions.
And this is at Bank of America.
This is at Bank of America. So I started at a small regional bank in St. Louis, which is where I'm from, and then just kept, Nations Bank was purchased, and then, Fleet and US Trust. And so I was able to work on most of those deals in some capacity or another. So I saw sort of M&A at this level that you don't get to see when you're in your 20s. And I had bosses that just let me work until I failed, right? Like, let me try things out and baptism by fire, if you will. And when I went into graduate school, I just decided I really wanted to focus on marketing. And at that point, my skills were really as a corporate athlete. I had one boss bill me that way, probably after an HBR article or something where they coined the term. But I have a plaque in my office about what a corporate athlete is. But it became important to me to focus on marketing. That's really what brought me joy and got me energized. And so I had an opportunity to come in and do a transformation at Aon. And I was the CMO for Aon Hewitt, which was the HR divisions. There were three principal businesses. And so that's really where I cut my teeth as a CMO. I was there for a long time. I did a spin out. We sold half of the business to Blackstone private equity. And then I've done a series of, roles kind of targeted towards events since then. So I was in global staffing and recruiting and moved into social media. And then I took a career break. I actually was pretty tired and needed to do a reset. And so at that point, that's when I got into the global NGO work. I was on the Grindr board, which I'm no longer on, but I was on the Grindr board, helped take Grindr public, and became a human rights activist as the board chair of Safe Place International, which I still do. So it's been an interesting run. I have a lot of interests, and I would say that the work that I do with Safe Place helps keep me really grounded. Broadens the scope. We work with LGBT refugees and asylum seekers, and being able to work on that, and also have my job be fitness and really focusing on people getting their best wellness outcomes. It also made sense to me that those things could work together, and so ABC has been a fantastic. It's a remote first company. We operate in 100 companies or 100 countries, 40 million members on our platform, work with some of the largest gyms in the world, 2,000 employees, 650 coaches on our platform, 650,000 coaches on our platform, and 30,000 businesses. So we're the biggest in the space. And my job is really to help bring that branding experience a little bit more front and center.
Wow. That's a really big bet.
Yeah, it's a neat world. I think about fitness all day long and get to go try out gyms, and it's fun. It's really neat.
That is cool. Well, I was talking more about just like your career chronology so far, because I didn't realize that you were basically like a hardcore banker, more or less, or like a bank operator.
Bank operator. Yeah, I wasn't in a bank. I was never a banker, but I was on the operations side for a long time.
For a long time, yeah, and doing these large deals. And then, so what was the prompt to get into marketing? You just had like an itch for it.
I had owned it. So by the end of my time at Bank of America with these COO roles, I did like demand gen and content marketing. Corporate and brand is obviously very much owned by corporate marketing, right? Like that's going to be very much in the center. So I was in roles where we were responsible for our own content because I was in a fairly specialized business. I was doing tax exempt investing and institutional investing. And that was what I loved. I mean, I just that's what I did. And I got into Kellogg. So I went to school full time through their executive program while I was working. And I just fell in love with marketing. I liked that it was left brain and right brain. I had, some incredible experiences there academically. Because I was in the executive program, I was with people that were incredibly I learned as much from my classmates as I did from my professors. And when I came out, that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to sort of be this Jill of all trades. I wanted to really focus in on marketing as a craft. And so that started about 15 years ago, 12 years ago. Let me get my timeline. 14 years ago. That's the number, Chris. Just had to do that look at that math in my head right there.
Yeah. And that was a really critical period in time, I would say, for marketing, especially digital marketing. Because it's like, I feel like 15 years ago is when the new age of marketing kind of started. That's when like being data driven was kind of became table stakes, right? But prior to that 15-year period, it's like Google Analytics barely existed, like people really weren't measuring stuff the way that we are now.
I mean, I remember that was when everybody was talking about big data, right? Like when I was in graduate school, that was the conversation, was all around big data. And I mean, a couple of people came in on the team that are still, good friends of mine, just to focus on social, because people didn't really think it was all that important. And then it became really important. And demand gen, they weren't really thinking about lead capture. It was, we need help with our RFPs. I mean, it's changed exponentially in the time that I've been in it. So it's been an interesting ride, sometimes stressful, sometimes concerning, right? Because it just changes all the time. Are you ever focused on the right thing at the right time can be a delicate balance, but it's fascinating. I mean, it's just such a dynamic field.
And then so you were on this nice career break. And what was it about ABC Fitness or what was it that made you want to jump back in?
Yeah, there's a lot of things. One, I missed being an operator. I mean, I missed being in a role where I could, lead. My favorite thing about these jobs is cultivating talent. I mean, that really is what gives me energy, and I love doing brand work and I love doing demand gen work. Like, how do we motivate people to make that decision to buy? And so this opportunity, I wanted to do something that I could feel really good about getting up every day and saying, this is the industry I'm in. And I was working with the CEO in a consulting capacity, and the current CMO at that time wanted to pursue something else. And it just was we had a lot of really good conversations and met some of our investors, and it worked out. And I think for me, it was the perfect blend of timing and needing to get back into something that would make sense for me, but also having that flexibility to stay with Safe Place and be able to continue to do the NGO work. And I still am on one board. It's a company called Blueconic, but I did leave the Grinder board because it was a public company board, and it just would have been maybe just a little too much because I also have children. So I wanted to be able to get that balance right. And, again, that's something I think you have to measure in different time periods. Sometimes I get it right in the course of a day. Sometimes it takes me a week to get it right. It's always changing. So it's more about integration, I think.
Yeah, no, 100%. So let's talk a little bit about ABC Fitness and just like the marketing, the marketing approach, and what's working and what's not. I guess when you've been there, 8 months, so probably enough time to kind of get your feet wet, but maybe not enough time to, really overhaul much. But what did you find when you went in, and what were some of your first moves as CMO?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it always starts with people and talent evaluation and just making sure you have the team that you think can help you win. And often that has as much to do with where the company is going versus the person. It's like do you have the right talent for where you are? And I think some of what got us here won't be what gets us to the next level. And, we're growing and have a lot of ambitious plans. And for me, what was clear is that we were a company on the cusp of a lot of integration. So from a marketing perspective, the way that's played out, and we're incrementally changing that, was we're essentially running three different marketing playbooks. You had enterprise sales, right, which is your more traditional B2B sales play, large RFPs, customer marketing, et cetera, et cetera. SMB, which is more driven by paid, right? It's a much, much, much shorter sales cycle, like 4 to 8 days, get the leads teed up, really focused on sales execution. And then we have the personalized coaching business. So that's online virtual training. So, we have a decent sized team, but we also are running three very different marketing playbooks. So a lot of what I'm doing is trying to look at how can the brand help drive some of that transition and that integration, and where are the places in our people portfolio where we have folks that can expand, and some of what they're doing from a B2C perspective and personalized coaching can really complement the work we're doing B2B and B2B2C. So it's a talent play right now. And then looking at tech that drives better collaboration, and thinking about what are the types of roles where we need hyper specialization and where do we need some more just really incredible generalists. So a lot of it is about getting the talent mix right and making sure that our collaboration interlocks with our business partners is working.
That makes a lot of sense.
But still early. I mean, to your point, 8 months in, still early.
Yeah. And so it sounds like on the personalized coaching side, like that's pretty much an individual you're selling to. Then with like boutique clubs and fitness centers, that's like SMB, and then you've got the big ones. So how do you?
That's right.
So what can be a tide that rises all ships kind of thing is brand, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you think about kind of the B2B2C playbook, it's how to make the end customer the hero so that you're really supporting club operators and coaches and large franchises in that outcome, right? So it isn't that we're selling directly into consumers. It's that we want to show that by having the best payment software, by having the best member and operation software, by creating personalized experiences, we're moving swiftly on AI and machine learning and all of that. How do you do that as a club operator without the backing of somebody that gets touch points and inputs from, some of the best, most innovative clubs around the world? And so that's the trick. And I think that's, to your point, brand can be a massive unifier of that. Right now, though, really focused on product marketing.
Yeah, I'm looking at the different solutions here on the site. We've got ABC Ignite, ABC GlowFox, Gym Sales, Accelerate. Did I hear correctly? You're basically in the process of baking AI into the platform that the end users would use, so that to give them better insights into their own businesses.
That's right. That's exactly right.
That's brilliant. Yeah. I mean, that's a goldmine of data.
Yeah. Well, and what I think is neat about ABC too is that we're working with University of Cincinnati. And so we're actually, as executives at ABC, getting access to AI training, over the course of this summer. So we're actually going to get certificates in next gen and AI and agentic workflows and all of that. So we'll be looking at that as a leadership team so that we're able to be conversant in AI quickly. So I think that's it says a lot about the innovation mindset here. So I'm looking forward to it. It kicks off next month, actually.
That's great. That's awesome. I recently experienced one of these AI voice agents. I have a buddy who runs a startup called Bland.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I know. It's called Bland, needs salt. But it is incredibly lifelike. You couldn't, if you didn't know it was AI, you probably wouldn't even, realize it, if you weren't watching for it. But it's the pacing, the timing is right. It doesn't interrupt you too soon. It doesn't take too long. And it will respond to almost any question, even if you try to throw it for a loop. It will sort of pick up on that and redirect the call. So if I'm just thinking about gyms, for inbound call volume or inbound call generation, I imagine that they sometimes, it's expensive to have somebody sit there and pick up the phone, especially somebody who's good at selling, right? Who can identify, hey, who is this person? Is it a prospect? Is it a good prospect? And sort of route them down a path. I've seen it to be a real powerful use case for anybody that's driving inbound calls. So I imagine it could be helpful for gyms.
Well, and we just actually soft launched. We have a CRM that's coming out. We had one, and we've done a lot of investment in R&D, and so we just soft launched. We're going to be rolling more of that out in the next couple of months because, the reality is people have gone out and tried to use stuff that's on the market, and the gym consumer and the gym experience, the operator experience, is very specific and very unique. And you've got classes you need to fill and people that you want to make sure are showing up, and how are check-ins looking. And so it's a specific way of looking at your business. And so to your point, there's a lot of information there. And also then you take on the health data and how are people showing up, and, are you getting enough sleep? Are you getting enough hydration? What are you eating? So there's lots of different ways to create, a well-rounded experience with consumers. I mean, cryo. I was in Brazil meetings with several customers last summer, and everybody was getting some sort of cryo device installed in their, oddly, that week. Every gym I was going into that week was getting a cryo bath or a chamber, or it was fascinating. And there's a lot to learn from the fitness culture in Latin America. I was in some of the most beautiful gyms when I was there and having these incredible experiences. And, I think they're really looking at the indoor-outdoor experience. And so there's so much that we can learn from, just taking a scan around the world and making sure that you show up in a culturally relevant way.
That's really interesting.
I know I wouldn't have suspected it because I don't come from the industry. It's been eye-opening education. Really, really fun.
Yeah, it's always interesting to go around to other countries and kind of see how they, how they do things. But I'm not that surprised that there's a lot to learn from the fitness industry in general. Um, cool. So, what would you say? You identified one big challenge, and that like you've got a few different personas or segments that you need to target, and how can you sort of unify all of these efforts? Um, what are some of the other big challenges that you're facing right now?
Yeah, I think the industry is it's changing so quickly. It reminds me a lot of other industries where, I mean, there's a lot of cash on the sidelines right now. People have been thoughtful, just because of market conditions and what's happening in the world. So I think there's probably a lot of consolidation coming, which puts a lot of pressure on thinking about P&L, right? So you want to be innovative and you want to be trying new things, but you got to try them at a smaller scale. And that can be hard to do. And I think getting that balance right of being able to prove ROI in your small experiences, but also try things that can be hard to measure. It's a tricky dance. And I think especially when there's a lot of scrutiny on getting that return on any kind of an investment that you make, it can be hard to take risks, and you just have to keep pushing for that. You have to keep advocating for that and keep trying. And I think the good news is, when you've got some experience around it, it helps, be able to say, well, when we tried this at different places, this was the outcome. That's great. But fitness operates a little bit differently. I think that's what's exciting about it. I was a former competitive athlete and then just spent years sitting at a desk working all the time. And over the last 2 years have been on my own fitness journey. And so some of that has helped really fuel my passion for it because I've seen firsthand or experienced firsthand how much it can change your life, but also know the real challenges when you're time bankrupt. How do you make sure you get into the gym when you don't have a lot of, capacity to cook? How do you make sure you're getting the right food? And so I think, you know, there are factors that are exogenous to what ABC can control and what club operators can control to keep people engaged. And so I think that part of the interest in it is how do you create enough stickiness with consumers at scale to keep them coming back and keep them engaged and putting their data into the app and putting their data and showing up at the gyms. That I think is there's a lot of distraction. There's so much distraction in the world. How do you stay focused on your fitness journey? That I think that's our existential dilemma. And the good news is people want to be focused on fitness. It's time span, like having a attention span, being able to have the time to do it.
That's true. The good thing about fitness is that it's almost like a drug where like once you start doing it, and I'm a person who I've gone through waves, right? Like I've been like really healthy and really, in the gym multiple times a week versus like I've gone months without going to the gym, right? But the good thing is that like the minute that you get down and like do a set of push-ups or like, jog for a minute or two, like your heart starts going, you feel better pretty much immediately,
Yeah. Or when you start feeling stronger, like I resisted lifting for so many years, probably PTSD from college sports, but I've gotten back into it. And those moments where you're stronger, it's so motivating.
So that's some momentum that you've got going for you there. Have you seen these challenges that people do? It's like usually like a build your own AI thing. It's like a 7-day boot camp or whatever. And it's largely a lead gen play. It's like pre-workshop, like we'll have the experts here, like we'll do daily calls and da 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 da. And so it's like this free workshop that there's a perceived value because they bring some experts in. But then really what they're trying to do is like get you engaged and get you sticky. And then they're gonna hit you with the product pitch, subtle at first, but then like more and more toward the end of the 7-day boot camp.
Yeah. It's kind of like it's like the fitness version of freemium. Like just
Kinda.
do it. Right?
Exactly.
Try this product for free.
But that's the latest rage. Like you see all types of little SaaS marketing type companies doing it, where it's kind of reminds me of this because you could do it by yourself, but it requires some specialized knowledge and there's like a tool set and, some operational things that could be made easier. Almost like almost like investing. It's like you could do it yourself, but like an ETF makes it a lot easier, you know?
That's right. Well, I mean, I think that probably lies at the heart of our value prop. I mean, why go and invent your own software experience when we can bring you the benefit of working with, 30,000 clubs and 40 million members and help get you up and running faster, right? I think that kind of what you're hitting at is really what we do, which is, we can bring to you all of the innovation and all of the, sort of scaling that we've learned. We've been in the business for 40 years. So we actually started, it was a club owner that saw that nobody really had billing software. So our history is billing. We do 12 billion in payments a year.
Wow. It's a big number.
Massive. Yeah, it is a big number. So I think that's what's interesting, right? So we have all these eye-popping numbers, and inside of the industry, we're definitely very well known and well respected. But outside, we don't really have that brand experience yet. So that's what's going to be fun to build over the next few years, because it's not going to happen overnight, as we both know. Brand building takes time, consistency, and investment.
So as you were talking earlier, I'd asked you about challenges. You were saying, it's sort of a risk-off environment. There's a lot of cash on the sidelines. People need to see some ROI. Were you talking from your customer's point of view? Like that's what your customers are saying? Or is that more of like the feel at ABC? It's like, hey, like there's a tighter leash now on required return on investment.
I don't think that's unique. I don't think that's unique to ABC. I think that, I mean, if I were to line up 10 CMOs on this call right now, they would probably all say, and I'm, friends with many, because I've been doing this a long time, and there's a really vibrant CMO community in Chicago. So we all tend to talk to each other, that know each other. I think everybody's dealing with the same sort of dynamic, right? Which is go out and do really innovative things, but if you can try to not do it without spending much money and have it be risk-free, that would be ideal, which is not really reasonable. And so you just have to keep working through how to do smaller experiments so that those learnings, because it's not really failure. Every time something doesn't work, you're learning something about the consumer, you're learning something about the market. And so how do you do that in ways that are digestible? I think even for customers, there's probably a version of that as well, which is, they are going to want proof points in order to just put more money into their platforms. Because, imagine some of these are people that started as personal trainers themselves, and they're bootstrapping this with their own money, right? And so they want to make sure that the things they're buying are going to work for them, and they're going to help them get more customers and customers that stay. And so that's going to be where their risk tolerance is informed.
Yep. So then that sentiment is shared, right? Like both the marketers, the CMOs are thinking like, hey, how can I make an impact without risking much? Short timeline, short commitment. And then the customers themselves are thinking the same. How can I make an impact without much?
That's right.
Time, without much of a leash. And that can be a real challenge in enterprise software, because I imagine like when you sign on a new customer, the onboarding phase probably takes a month or 2 or 3 to like even get the system up and running.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the business, but yeah.
One other idea for you real quick. Have you heard of Alex Hormozy?
No.
So Alex Hormozy is this huge marketing influencer. He's like a massive success story because he started off pretty humbly, but then he made a bunch of money with his first company, which was called Gym Launch. And what they would do is kind of like the boot camps that I was describing, but he basically had figured out a system to use Facebook ads and like a certain sales script and certain like pricing technique that really worked well. And he went around to like various strength training gyms and essentially said like, hey, I'll do this launch for you. I'm going to put up the money for the Facebook ads. I'm going to do all the work. I'm just going to bring you a big line of customers out the door. And my team is going to fly there and sign them up for you. Right? Like, cause they've all been trained on this special thing. And he's like, you don't pay me anything, but you give me, 50% of whatever I bring in, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he ironed this thing out to the point where like he was doing huge amounts of revenue, like millions of dollars a month with a small team. And then he took his winnings from that and parlayed it. And now he's like got a little PE fund and he's just buying companies. But Alex Hormozy, he's like a major influencer online if you look him up.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to. Is it HORMOZI?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alex
Cool.
Hormozy. You'll see him. He's got a big following and he's got some really good content too.
Okay. Thank you.
You know, something like that. Because if you call it, and I'm sure that you make it sound a lot better, but like if you call a prospect and you're like, hey, we've got this awesome software, like it's better than what you're doing right now, you know, let us give you a demo or what have you, you probably get some reception. But if you come in and you say something else first, such as like, hey, let me help you get new customers without spending much money.
It's a different conversation.
Right. And then later on, it's like, hey, don't you need a way to like track all these sales? Like, you know, the spreadsheet's getting a little unruly at this point, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Have you had him on your show? Or are you just a
Hormozy?
fan?
No, I haven't.
No?
I'm a fan though.
Okay.
I'm a major fanboy of his. I haven't actually reached out to him. Maybe I should.
Maybe you should. Maybe that's a good follow on from this.
But no, he is definitely a badass. And I actually kind of like that. I think it's an interesting thought experiment to be like, okay, how can we get a bunch of leads without spending any money? You know, it's like,
doesn't everybody want to know that? If we had the answer to that consistently, we would charge $1 million an hour, Chris. Let's be honest.
That was trick. But cool. Well, this has been awesome. I want to be sensitive to your time. Anything else? Like as we look out, you know, across 2025 and through 2026, is there anything else like new and exciting or awesome that you guys are doing that you want to talk about in the last couple of minutes?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we just launched a partnership with MyFitnessPal, right? So they're one of they just literally just launched it at HFA a couple of weeks ago. We have another announcement coming. A bunch of our team is headed to FIBO, which is one of the largest fitness conferences in the world. It's in Germany. So there'll be some announcements coming out of that. But we continue to look at what's next. And I think if you keep, we're online, you can find us on social. I try to post, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, try to post what's happening here, but there's so much going on in the industry, and a lot of that innovation is being led by women. It's being led by people from diverse communities. It's a super inclusive industry, and there's a lot of innovative thinking and just good people. Every time I come back from one of the fitness conferences, I'm just blown away by the quality of people that I get to work with in this industry that are really trying to move fitness forward in a way that leaves shame behind. And I think that's really fascinating and beautiful, and it's exciting to be part of it. So that's what I would keep an eye out for. We're all, I think there's a lot of us that are trying to do our best to get more people involved. It's the people that aren't engaged in fitness that are the real opportunity, not the ones that are already dogmatic about it. So that's the trick, trying to get more people in the gym, and whether they're in the gym or online or whatever modality works for them, but just getting them active about their wellness.
I really do think, and I actually tested this on my older brother, that he like, for whatever reason, he's like fundamentally against working out. Right.
Okay.
Like he just doesn't want to do it. Like he eats well, you know, he takes care of himself, but he just like doesn't want to work out. I'm like, bro, do one set of push-ups. They can even be knee push-ups if you want. Just do one set of push-ups and you will feel better immediately. Like you do, you know, like your heart rate goes up, like the endorphins start pumping. It's like a drug. So,
did he do it?
He did. Yeah. And he was like, this is great. He hasn't done it since though.
Work in progress.
But he did agree that it felt good to do it.
You got to bank the small wins on the way to the bigger wins, Chris.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, I bet if you can devise some clever way to get people to do it like once or twice, or even like a 7-day boot camp type of a thing, I bet you can get a lot of converts that way.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of opportunity in influencer marketing in general for us. So I would agree.
That's a good call too. We didn't even talk about that.
Next time.
Yeah, totally. Well, Maggie, this was awesome. I learned a lot. I was really, really impressed by you. I think that your career trajectory and your varied background, I think makes you a dangerous weapon in this space. And Yeah, it was really great to talk with you. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was wonderful to meet you.
And for everybody listening, we'll stick on the line just one sec. For folks listening, if you enjoyed this, if you learned anything, drop us a like or a comment or pay it forward by sharing this with a friend. Maggie, for folks that would like to learn more about you or ABC Fitness, where would you direct them?
Yeah, I would send them to, I'm on LinkedIn. So Maggie Lower, you'll be able to find me very easily on LinkedIn. And ABC Fitness is on social. So we are on LinkedIn and all the channels. So you can find us pretty easily.
Dig it. We'll include those links in the show note as well. And stick around, Maggie, just one second. We'll wrap up for everybody else. That was another exciting episode of Revenue-Driven CMO, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Revenue-Driven CMO. We really appreciate you being here. For more details, show notes, past episodes, head over to revenue-drivencmo.com. This show is brought to you by Level Agency, combining AI-enabled performance marketing expertise with the right mix of data and creativity to fuel growth. Catch you next week.